Hi Millie, how are you?
I'm finding yourself, Mukesh.
Okay, so what is the assignment for today?
My assignment today is a presentation on the review of the American film called The Exorcism of Emily Rose, which is based on true life events that occurred a couple of decades ago, where in Germany there were Catholic priests that tried to assist an individual that was believed to have been possessed of demons. And all throughout the practice of trying to help her, she unfortunately died, and then they were charged with her murder, but it was actually not murder. It was called negligent homicide because they had not intentionally killed her. She actually died from the malnutrition that occurred as she couldn't eat throughout the process of the exorcism because of the spirits that had possessed her. And she also had injuries, and that led to her not being able to stay alive. And they charged them with the death, and they were sentenced. They were found guilty for negligent homicide, and they were sentenced for that. In the Christian religion, as Jesus followers, believe that exorcism is a practice that is important, and there is a strong belief that there are demons that roam the earth as much as there are angels who guard us. There's also evil spirits that attack us. Biblically, Jesus also saved a man who was possessed by evil spirits, and this is recorded in the Bible. And as Jesus followers, this practice is done by priests in churches, and it is believed to be part of saving someone from the hands of the devil. Now, what is exorcism? Exorcism is the practice of praying for someone until the evil spirits are actually out of the person. The evil spirits come into a body and they take control of it mentally, spiritually, and psychologically. Different ways are seen of how they actually manifest. In this particular film, the young girl, Emily Rose, was a normal girl, and she believed that she wanted to further her studies. She applied and went to university far away from her family. But she was raised in a Catholic church, and her Christian beliefs still remained in her. When she was in university, she started experiencing strange things happening one evening when she was by herself in her dorm room. She heard sounds, and as she was trying to investigate where the sounds were coming from, it appears that an invisible force then attacked her. The force actually restrained her to her bed and caused her to experience paralysis. And it caused her physical torment, and she started screaming after she felt like the force was off her. And this was just the beginning of her experience. We see here that the court case actually commences, the trial commences, and there's witnesses that are called. Before I get into the evidence of the witnesses, I'd like to go back to defining what negligent homicide is. Negligent homicide is an activity that is performed by one person against another person, which results in the death of the second person. This is done not intentionally, but accidentally. It is believed that the person that has caused this activity did not take sufficient care to prevent the death of the other party. And it is, in the legal terms, it is called mens rea, which is opposed to intentional killing. And there are a number of factors to be considered after this activity has happened. The behavior of the accused is considered in terms of what did they do to cause the result. What would a reasonable person have done in that case? Would they have also behaved the same way that the accused has behaved, or would they not have behaved that way? There also needs to be a causal link between the actions of the accused and the death that has resulted. In this case, we do see that there is a death that has happened, and they are saying that the priest's behavior is the result of the death. They believe that after the family of the girl had placed Emily Rose in his care, he didn't do enough to actually assist her. From this point on, the priest is arrested for the charge of negligent homicide. He does go to prison. He's not resisting it, and there is a defense attorney that is appointed by his church. The archdiocese sends a defense attorney to him. He initially starts to ask about her beliefs. Is she a Christian? Is she Catholic? And she says no, she's agnostic, meaning that she does not believe in the existence of a God. She also does not say that there isn't a God. So she's basically sitting on a fence. She's not really choosing what she's believing in. This concerns the priest because he does not feel that she will understand what is happening. But then she says that she basically is the only option that she has, or choice that she has, that he can make to be able to get an opportunity to fight in court. The priest also was proposed, or was offered a proposal for a plea bargain by the prosecutor, which he declined. A plea bargain is an offer that is made to an accused, mostly in criminal cases. In civil cases, we have not seen this occur. In criminal cases where the state wants a speedy process of getting to a conviction, they do not want to waste time with investigations. They therefore offer the accused a plea bargain where they want the accused to confirm or to admit to guilt. If they admit to guilt, that they have committed the crime, they are then given a reduced sentence. In this case, the prosecutor indicates that they don't want the public to see this trial happen. They want to make it as quick as possible because it involves a priest. But because the priest knows what has happened, he doesn't believe that it would be right to accept the plea bargain. He says that he wants to tell Emily Rose's story. And this is important because he's the one that was there and he knows what happened, he knows what he saw. But if he accepts a plea bargain, his story will not be told. People will not know that such incidences where there are demonic forces actually exist. The defense attorney accepts that she will present him on the condition that he allows him to testify, because he makes this his condition, that he will only allow her to defend him if she promises that he will take the stand. So this is something important for him. He knows he wasn't intentionally doing something to harm the girl, but he also knows that a lot of people might not believe in demons. He therefore wants to tell the story to bring awareness to the community, to the society, because what has happened to Emily Rose could have happened to anybody else, and it could still happen again in future. So bringing awareness to the community, to the society, would make a positive impact so that people can be aware that other forces outside the normal that we know, there are forces that exist, what people will call supernatural or paranormal activities exist. We see then that the trial begins. When the trial begins, the defense uses medical science as the reason why Emily Rose behaved the way that she behaved. The expert witnesses that he calls through, they indicate that she had epilepsy. The other doctor says that it was a psychotic epileptic medical condition, which means that apart from all the scientific reasons or explanations.
Doctor, is psychotic epileptic disorder a common medical term, or did you just make it up?
I distinguished and named the illness while writing about it in the
psychotic
Oxford.
epileptic disorder is really just your own pet theory.
Sustained.
Explanations of how a person will behave, the symptoms of epilepsy, it was more than just epilepsy because she was attacked mentally as well. And the jury was presented with pictures of what Emily Rose looked like. In the prosecutor's opening statement, he shows them pictures of what she looks like before she went to university and also what she looked like at her death. And it is mortifying to see the images because at the end she was almost unrecognizable. She had so many bruises on her face. She looked like she had experienced the most traumatic incidences in her life. So this is actually a wonderful way to open a statement because he says to them, remember this, I'm not here just for the people, but I'm here for the person that is not here herself, that cannot tell you what has happened. I'm here to speak for Emily Rose. And this actually gives a very powerful opening statement for the prosecutor, which I believe the jury also kept in mind throughout the process, throughout the trial. But something interesting happens. The defense declines to submit their opening statement until they have had the prosecutor's case presented. And then that's when all the witnesses are called. Throughout the cross-examination, there's a number of objections that happens from the defense because the prosecutor tends to create or to make leading questions towards the witnesses. In criminal proceedings, leading questions are not allowed. When a witness is asked questions, the questions must be open. They must be able to reach the answer themselves. The prosecutor is not allowed to, or anybody that is cross-examining, is not allowed to, or doing the examination in chief, they are not allowed to make or state questions that will lead them to a specific answer, because that is then considered to be a leading question. We see that there's a number of exchanges between the prosecutor and the defense where experts are called in. Eventually, the defense finds an expert that can speak on the elements of exorcism, spirits, supernatural forces. And what she asserts is that she believes that Emily Rose did not respond to the exorcism because of the medication that the doctor had actually prescribed her. Because the prosecutor's claim is that due to the fact that the priest told Emily Rose to stop taking medication is the direct result why she died. Because that medication was intended to help her get her out of the condition. As one of the expert doctors indicated, he said the medication takes a while. It's not effective right away. So she would have needed to continue to take it. She would have needed to continue with the consultations until the result would be seen. Now, this is a different approach to it, using science and also the belief that there are things such as evil spirits. The defense's medical expert says that it's because of that very same drug that she could not submit to the exorcism. Had it not been for that drug, the exorcism should have been successful. Now, this brings conflict between medical science and religion as well, because we believe that medical doctors are there to do what is best to help heal our bodies. But they're also introducing here an element that sometimes that very same medication could be working against you if your condition is not actually a medical condition. It could be a spiritual condition. So now this is something that the jury has to consider because there's now two possibilities of what could have happened. It is not just clear medical reasons only, but there could potentially be another reason, which is evil spirits that were involved in the process. From this point, there is another doctor that shows up in the scene. This doctor was present during the exorcism that was done by the priest. Initially, the priest did not mention him, but then he eventually does mention him to his defense attorney. That psychologist mentioned that what he saw from Emily Rose was not medical conditions. It was not epilepsy, it was not schizophrenia or any kind of psychological matter. As a matter of fact, the psychologist is actually traumatized from what he saw, because he says that had he known what the condition was, he would not have gone there. So even him as a doctor had not anticipated the extreme extent of what Emily Rose was suffering. It is only her family and the priest who had seen it, apart from the psychologist. And yes, the friend from university who was there to indicate to the defense attorney what he had seen Emily Rose experience. So this family, torn between believing in what the priest said it was, and now being questioned in terms of, could it have just been a medical condition? Because when the father takes the stand, the prosecutor asks him, couldn't there have been another reason why she was speaking in strange languages when she was going through the exorcism? Because she has also studied other languages like German. Now this opens up another conversation, because in the Christian faith, we believe that there is an additional spiritual language that can be gifted to Christians that nobody else will understand. But equally, demons would also have their own language that other people would not understand. But now the prosecutor says that could have just possibly been a matter of the fact that she was multilingual. She didn't speak English only. She knew other languages. Perhaps instead of it being an evil spirit that was speaking through her, perhaps it was just her using all the different languages that she knows. Again, the prosecutor mentioned that he is actually a man of faith, but in this case, he brings the facts forward. And according to his medical facts, it seemed that Emily Rose had a medical condition as opposed to it being a spiritual infliction. At the end of the trial, we see that the prosecutor seems to be winning the case. And the defense is obviously concerned because the defense attorney also started experiencing some of these strange happenings. And she spoke to the priest about it. The priest indicated that she needs to be careful because there are evil forces. And she also experienced some of it herself, although it did not reach an extreme level as Emily Rose had experienced. It was minor incidences that made her realize that there is a possibility that there could be evil forces at hand. Towards the end of the trial, the closing statement from the defense attorney was that they need to open their minds up to possibilities that it could be something else other than medical science or a medical condition that led Emily Rose to die. Yes, because she was not eating. There was also the matter of malnutrition because she couldn't eat. She was tormented very heavily. But it was possibly the evil spirits that were leading her to fail to eat, to not be able to take care of herself, to cause herself the injury. Based on the evidence that was submitted through the tape recorder, we could also see on what was presented that she suffered a lot. She was in complete unconsciousness when the evil spirit was in charge. The evil spirit made her scream, scratch the wall, fight, hit herself. She would be even paralyzed without being able to do anything, and her body would be going through very strange convulsions and restrictions or constrictions of her body. It was not normal activity, even for somebody that would have been schizophrenic or going through a mental disorder. What she went through was excessive. She was in pain. So, following that evidence, the priest also then delivers a letter that Emily Rose had written to him, where she explained that she had an experience where she saw herself outside her body, and it seems that she was being called to leave the earth, but she said that she will stay. And as she stayed, she continued to experience the pain. And eventually, the spirits that lived in her led her to her death. We also see the priest crying as he's reading this letter. This is a big sign of compassion. Somebody that didn't intentionally lead somebody to their death would have compassion because they know that was not their intention. They did not want to kill the person. So he shows compassion on the stand. And the jury is observant of the fact that he's showing compassion. He was also not resisting that a death had occurred, but he stated why he believes the death occurred. And it was not so that she could die, but it's because he could not assist her in the way that he intended to. And the forces had already taken over her body to an extreme state or extreme level. At the end of the closing statements, the jury reaches a verdict. And their verdict is that they find Father Moore to be guilty of negligent homicide. As the prosecutor, well, after that, the magistrate is about to give an indication that there will be a sentencing that should happen. There will be a date for sentencing. She's still explaining to Father Moore that he needs to be aware of the fact that he could be getting up to 10 years imprisonment. And Father Moore is humble and he accepts it. He's not fighting it. He's accepting that, and he is aware of the fact that he would be sentenced, it could possibly be sentenced for a lengthy period. But at that point, the jury then submits that they would like to propose a served time for his sentence. Time that served means that a person has already served some time in jail. They've already spent time in jail because he was arrested. From the point that he was arrested, he was imprisoned. He was imprisoned. Throughout the trial, he was imprisoned. He did not have any freedom at any point. There was no bail that was given to him. He stayed in his cell and he only went to the court whenever the trial was on. So he did serve some time in prison. And this comes at their surprise. And as much as the prosecutor wanted to object it, the magistrate allowed it. And therefore, Father Moore was guilty, but he did not have to serve a sentence. He served the time that he had already served, and that was sufficient. And this is very interesting to see happen. Because according to the laws in the state, different juries or different jurisdictions have different rules on how to handle the negligent homicide. In some states, it could be a fine or it could be imprisonment, anything from 1 year to 3 years. It could be probation. But also, it depends on what they classify the action as. If they classify it as a misdemeanor, then the sentence would be smaller. If they classify it as a felony, then the sentence could be maximum as well. So in this case, because Father Moore had actually shown compassion, the way he behaved in the court indicated that he was sympathetic. He didn't mean to actually kill her, and he actually did not kill her. He didn't believe that he killed her. And he actually understood what was happening there, that it was excessive forces that were beyond her control and his control as well that led to her death, which I believe is the reason why the jury could understand that from his perspective, he actually did not do anything to harm the girl. He was actually just wanting to assist her. Therefore, the time served seems like a fair sentence because he's actually not guilty, although based on the prosecutor's case and the medical evidence, he's guilty. I'd like to indicate that, in my personal opinion, or in my experience rather, I have actually experienced exorcisms happen. In the church setting, exorcisms are done using prayer. The victim is not touched by anyone, and it is therefore difficult to say somebody caused their killing if they ended up dying. But in this case, they're saying him advising her or telling her to stop the medication is the result of the killing. We also see that in the movie, when they were trying to exorcise her, she ran away and ran into a barn, and they followed her because they had initially tied her up, but she freed herself. Nobody actually caused any physical harm to her. Everything that happened was as a result of her own actions in terms of the spirit that lived in her. She jumped out of a window. That is the spirit that was forcing her to hide or to run away. And everything that occurred did not happen because somebody was trying to intentionally injure her. It is unfortunate that they used the fact that he said to her, it is a spiritual fight, that caused her to stop taking the medication to then lead her to her death. But also, the medication was not confirmed to have been working at the time when the exorcism started. It had not shown that it was actually effective. So in essence, they cannot also blame him for actually advising that it's spiritual because their treatment was already not working either. Because the torments did not stop. She was still being tormented while she was taking the medication. As I was mentioning, in real life situations where I've experienced exorcism, they use prayer to release the evil spirits. And in most cases, the prayer is sufficient. But in some cases, the Bible and the cross, and perhaps maybe even holy water, would be used to try to assist the victim, the host body. But demons can also become very aggressive. They can become very violent. And because they don't want to leave the host body, they take full control of it. Yes, there will be moments where the individual is conscious of themselves and they're able to make their own decisions. But when the case becomes extreme, they are not in control at all. It's only the spirit that exists at that point. The second thing I'd like to mention, I have a brother who's epileptic. He's had epileptic seizures from the age of 1. At no point did he have a seizure or an episode where he could behave the way that Emily Rose behaved. Whenever the epileptic seizure happened, he would simply fall on the ground and become paralyzed temporarily. Most of the time, the worst thing that we'd be afraid of would be him swallowing his tongue while he's actually paralyzed. He would not be able to use his body to harm himself. He would not be aggressive. He would not be violent. He would not be screaming. He would not be speaking in any kind of language. Therefore, based on what this film has presented, there is a big possibility that there wasn't just an issue of epilepsy. And even psychologically, this was extreme. The behavior was extreme. And perhaps schizophrenic people would behave this way, but it genuinely seems that there were supernatural forces at hand, and they really did intend to kill her at the end of the day. The other point I'd like to make is that when it comes to religion, most countries allow freedom of religion. That means that you are allowed to choose the religion that you want to believe in. You are allowed to practice the religion that you want. That is a fundamental right in South Africa. Nobody must judge you on what you believe in. Because at the end of the day, faith is about you and your convictions. It's about what you believe in. Nobody can actually make you believe in something. Yes, when we grow up, we are taught what religion to follow. We are taught to go to church. We are taught to pray. Or in other families, you are not taught any of those things. You are taught to just do your own thing, take every day as it comes. There is no prayer needed, there is no faith needed. Most of the time, your faith is built by your own lived experiences. And people who have not lived those experiences will have a difficult time understanding or believing in what you believe in if it's not something that they have experienced or if it's not something that they understand. And this conflict between religion and medicine in this case has been depicted very well because there's a very thin line between what could be medical science and what could actually be a spiritual warfare. And at the end of the day, it is open to anyone to decide what they believe in based on their own lived experiences and the evidence that has been adduced as well. In my opinion, I believe that there was a demon inside Emily Rose. Had it been me given the verdict, I would have said Father Moore is not guilty. But then this verdict also suits the testimony or evidence that was given by the medical science. And it is possible that there could have been something else apart from a demon inside of Emily Rose. I'd like to think that there is a necessity to regulate how religion is practiced. In South Africa specifically, we've seen abuses of power from church leaders. In some cases, congregants have been made to drink petrol, gasoline, fuel. I'm not sure what the correct word is that you use, but we call it petrol. In some cases, they've been made to use pesticides, to be sprayed on with pesticides. They've been made to chew grass on the ground. In some cases, there is a particular case that not just happened in South Africa, but in South America, there is a priest that raped women, making them believe that he was holy and that his semen was holy. And they believed him. So it does happen that there is a lot of abuse that can happen within a church setting because church leaders can use your faith to manipulate you into doing anything that they want as well. Regulation is required. I don't know how it would be conducted because there is freedom of religion and there are multiple religions that exist. That's why we have so many different churches with so many different practices. But perhaps there needs to be common rules, legislation in terms of how do you conduct practices, rituals within your church? Do you have to consult with medical practitioners before you do things or specific activities to people? Because I know there is a particular fact that actually happened in my home country in South Africa, where one person knelt on a person that was sick, and she believed that she wasn't sick, but she was actually just possessed. She used her physical knee to kneel on the body parts where the person had said was painful. She put pressure on that, and the person ended up dying from that pressure that the supposed priest was actually putting on the painful areas of her body. And the case is that she was not even regulated by any church to do that. It's somebody who's trying to create their own church, and they went to pray for this person. So there is a lot of abuse that happens in churches, and regulation is required. Perhaps not just anyone should be allowed. Yes, in this movie we saw that Father Moore did the right thing. He did obtain authorization first before he actually conducted the exorcism. But in some real life cases, people do go ahead and behave in a manner that is not authorized by any church or any regulation. And yes, abuses do happen and people could end up dying. And that's all I have for today.
Okay, thank you. It was really very nice. And there are a lot of things that you covered along with the movie story in context of your country as well. And there are a lot of points that you explained that you personally experienced. That was very relevant in order to explain such kind of a story. So, otherwise, I have some questions, like always. Okay. First of all, thank you so much. So, before asking any question, what is your experience in terms of learning the law? What is outcome?
Well, I'm obviously introduced to different concepts and ideas in terms of how law is approached. For instance, today or well, in this case, I actually realized that the flow of the procedure in court does not always have to be stagnant. For instance, the defense waited until the prosecutor had delivered their presentation before they could make an opening statement. I thought that a natural flow will always be we have to start with an opening statement first, and then we move on to a cross examination, then it's a closing statement, then there will be a verdict. And also, the concept of served time was new for me. I always thought there is specific minimum sentences and maximum sentences, and once a person is convicted, there must be a specific sentence served. The concept of time served was new, and I'm very excited to understand where else it actually happens apart from in America, because in South Africa, I have not come across a case of time served as an acceptable sentence.
Okay. Well, that is also in India because the the amount of time, the number of years, months that accused served in the jail while trial period or during the trial period. Okay, that is counted because trial period supposed to be sometimes 5 years, 6 years. It's not like 1 month or 2 months. So if it is so long and until he was or she was in jail, so how to exclude that? That is not justification.
Not that it must be excluded altogether. I would have expected it to be to reduce the sentence. So I'm saying in this case, the magistrate said to him, "You're a free man." So he's found guilty, and there is no sentence because they're saying served time should be the sentence. It's not forming a reduction on a new sentence. So that's the part that I'm new to.
Okay, so according to jury members, the quantum of punishment or imprisonment supposed to be maybe 1 year or 2 years, and that period already he was in jail while the trial.
Yes,
है ना? So
yes,
he just
yes,
given the, anyway, that is something like part of procedure, uh,
yes.
and that is the part of procedure, legal proceedings that is there. I don't know about what is the procedure in South Africa, but that is very common. All the countries having the common legal system have this kind of, I believe, have this kind of legal proceeding because that need to be counted. The
Yes,
number of years or months spent in jail during the trial period, that need to be counted. है ना? Okay, and
yes,
you use the term plea bargaining.
yes.
So could you explain that?
A plea bargain is when the prosecutor or the state will encourage the accused to admit to the guilt.
Okay.
If they admit to the guilt, that means that there will not be a lengthy trial and investigations. That means there is an admission of guilt. The process can then be sped up to getting to a conviction. And once there's a conviction, then the person can be sentenced.
Okay, so what is the benefit the accused will get if he or she accepts his or
So
her guilt?
let's say, for instance, the verdict could lead to a sentence of 3 years if they go on to trial. In this
Mhm.
case, like they're saying, anything between 1 to 3 years or even 10 years could happen. So in this case, if he now accepts a plea bargain and admits to the guilt, he can maybe get a reduced sentence to 1 year or 1.5 years. So that would be the benefit for the accused.
Okay, so plea bargaining is something like that in India. Also, this concept is, and it is introduced, I believe, in 2005 or somewhere six. Okay, so it wasn't earlier. So nowadays it is there,
Okay.
and but it is applicable only in some petty crimes or
Yes, yes,
compoundable crimes. है ना?
yes.
So,
In South Africa, sorry, what usually also happens is that if perhaps, let's say, there were more than one accused, like in the case in Germany, if one of the priests was willing to accept it and the other one was not willing to accept it, then the other priest that's willing to accept it could then become state witness against the other priest that was not willing to accept the plea bargain. Then only the other priest will get the maximum sentence and they could get a reduced sentence. So it can also be used in that way.
right. So this is nice concept, plea bargaining, that reduces the time of all the parties and courts as well, isn't it?
Yes.
है ना? So that is nice concept, and you can correlate it in civil law. This plea bargaining with alternative dispute resolution like mediation, or
Yes.
because
Yes.
this is something like that where parties have the privilege, though it's only the correlation. It's not something like the something this concept mirrors this concept. I mean, plea bargaining
Yes.
mirrors
Yes.
mediation. It's
Yes.
not like that. Both are the
Yes.
different terms, but yes, here both have the opportunities to say their own uh, matters or whatever their
Terms.
uh,
Yes.
the things they can share, what happens,
Yes.
what he did, that, and all the things. So both parties have the time or opportunities or privilege to say
Yes.
something, but in litigation it's not like that.
Yes.
Whenever judge asks something, only then accused need to reply, otherwise there is no scope of saying something, है ना? So okay,
Yes.
that is something good. And of course, the exorcism and all, it is prevalent across the world. It's not like happening somewhere in any particular region of this world.
Yes.
So that is also, so such kind of case not coming up, but there are number of cases of such type. There are a lot of lives gone because of this exorcism. Sometimes
Yes.
sometimes priests and whomever doing such kind of practices, if he or she very very experts of that field, okay, fine, but someone pretend to be expert of that field and not having the knowledge, in that condition the life of the patient in danger, very much possible.
Yes.
So that is
Yes.
there, that is there. But of course, this movie of course gives a perspective. You need to think in this direction as well. So if you face such
Yes.
kind of case, so it's not something like entirely weird kind of situation, okay, something cannot possible in this world. So
Yes.
showing
Yes.
something hypothetically, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's not hypothetically, that is happening around us, as you
Yes.
experienced and shared a lot of stories uh, through your experience only, है ना?
Yes.
So that is that is
Yes.
that is nice, something that okay, these things are very much possible. And movies always give with some visualization and imagination, gives certain things some, in such a way that we can understand the things very easily. As you explained,
Yes.
epilepsy, the kind of symptom she has shown in the movie, in epilepsy that is not normal at all.
Yes.
And
Yes.
as you
Yes.
use the term temporarily kind of paralyzed, it's a temporary
Yes.
paralyzed
Yes.
everywhere. The
Yes.
symptom of the epilepsy is that is only because even whatever I have
Yes.
seen, so it's a temporarily paralyzed kind of thing, and even maybe body may be vibrating kind of in vibration mode,
Yes. Yes.
not able to speak anything, not able to do anything.
Yes.
So in vibration
Yes.
mode as phone, like cell phone,
Yes.
है ना?
Yes.
So no voice at all. So, and that is
Yes.
temporary, but not body not supposed to be lifting in the air on its own. है ना?
Yes.
है ना?
Yes.
And
Yes.
patient start speaking different languages,
Yes, yes,
those things are really something weird that need to be considered while discussing or arguing this kind of cases. है ना?
yes,
But yes, science and court believes in science, and science demands evidence, or court demands evidence both. So the
yes,
thing that cannot be proved, it is very difficult to discuss on that point. है ना?
yes,
So,
yes, yes,
but yes, this such kind of movie gives uh, some perspective. Okay, we can think on this line as well. We can think on this aspect as well. Something like, है ना? So
yes.
those
It
things are
it
okay.
broadens your thinking.
Yes. Okay. So thank you so much. It was a really nice review, and we can expect something more on this. Okay. So thank you so much, Millie. Uh,
Thank you, Mukesh.